Top 30 interesting facts about World War II. 1. The Battle of the Bulge is the largest and deadliest battle for US troops to date, with more than 80,000 American casualties. 2. During war, hamburgers in the US were dubbed Liberty Steaks to avoid the German-sounding name. 3. The country with the largest number of war casualties has Russia, with over 21 million. 4. For every 5 German soldiers who died in war, 4 of them died on the Eastern Front. 5. 80% of Soviet males born in 1923 didn't survive World War II. 6. Between 1939 and 1945, the Allies dropped 3.4 million tons of bombs, which averaged to 27,700 tons per month. 7. The longest battle of war was the Battle of the Atlantic, which lasted from 1939 till 1945. 8. Approximately 600,000 Jews served in the United States Armed Forces during war. More than 35,000 were killed, wounded, captured, or missing. Approximately 8,000 died in combat. However, only 2 Jewish soldiers were awarded the Medal of Honor. 9. More Russians, military and civilians, lost their lives during the Siege of Leningrad than did American and British soldiers combined in all of war. 10. The Japanese kamikaze divine wind tactic was suggested on October 19, 1944 by Vice Admiral Lonishi in an attempt to balance the technological advantage of invading American forces. Though the numbers are disputed, approximately 2,800 kamikaze pilots died. They sunk 34 US ships, damaged 368, killed 4,900 sailors, and wounded 4,800. 11. In 1935, British engineer Robert Watson Watt was working on a death ray that would destroy enemy aircraft using radio waves. His death ray instead evolved into radar or radio detection and ranging. 12. Many historians believe that the battle at Stalingrad is not only arguably the bloodiest battle in history, up to 1,600,000 casualties, but also the turning point of war in Europe. 13. From 1940 till 1945, the US defense budget increased from $1.9 billion to $59.8 billion. 14. In 1941, a private earned $21 a month. In 1942, a private earned $50 a month. 15. Members of Adolf Hitler's inner circle allegedly called Rudolf Hess-Fröhlich an Anna because he was reportedly a homosexual. He was also known as the Brown Mouse. 16. On January 31, 1945, Private Eddie Slovik was shot for desertion, the first American executed for the crime since the Civil War and the only one to suffer this punishment during World War II. 17. Out of the 40,000 men who served on U-boats during war, only 10,000 returned. 18. The most decorated unit ever in US history is the 442nd Regimental Combat Team, whose motto was Go for Broke. It consisted of Japanese-American volunteers. Together, they won 4,667 major medals, awards and citations, including 560 Silver Stars, 28 of which had oak leaf clusters, 4,000 Bronze Stars, 52 Distinguished Service Crosses, and 1 Medal of Honor, plus 54 other decorations. It also held the distinction of never having a case of desertion. 19. Prisoners of war in Russian camps experienced an 85% mortality rate. 20. Germany had a total of 3,363 generals during the war, while the US had just over 1,500. 21. Before Nazi Germany decided to eliminate the Jews by gassing them, it had considered sending them to the island of Madagascar. 22. If it became necessary to drop a third atom bomb on Japan, the city that would have been the target was Tokyo. 23. Calvin Graham was only 12 years old when he enlisted in the US Navy. He won a Bronze Star and a Purple Heart before the Navy found out how old he was. 24. World War II was the most destructive conflict in history. It cost more money, damaged more property, killed more people, and caused more far-reaching changes than any other war in history. 25. Because the Norway leader Vidkun Quisling actively collaborated with Germany after its occupation, his name has entered the Norwegian language as a word for traitor. 26. In 1974, a Japanese soldier named Hiro Onoda came out of the jungle of the Pacific island of Lubang. He had been hiding there for 29 years, unaware that his country had surrendered. 27. From 1942, US Marines in the Pacific used the Navajo language as their secret code. The language didn't have the vocabulary for existing war technology, so existing words had to be given new meanings. Around 400 Navajo Indians, code talkers, were trained to use the code, and the Japanese never cracked it. 28. The Russians were the first to have paratroopers, which they exhibited in 1935. The Allies did not catch up until 1940, when the Central Landing School opened near Manchester. 29. World War II casualties totaled between 50 and 70 million people. More than 80 of this total came from 4 countries: Russia, China, Germany, and Poland. More than half of these casualties were civilians, most of whom were women and children. 30. The oleander is the official flower of the city of Hiroshima because it was the first to bloom again after the explosion of the atomic bomb in 1945.